The meeting of the Finance and Facilities Committee to order. Stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, I actually need that.
Oh.
Those, I can't open it. I'm sorry.
You want me to help?
Yeah. Do you know if
Sorry.
you got it?
Can I?
Okay, that's fine.
Yes, a quick housekeeping item. Chair Don Dutton is filling in for Jeremiah Nault. He's unable to be here today. And let's see, I'm just going to get my agenda up so you can have your back.
And Mr. Edelman should be here soon.
Yeah.
Skip the meeting minutes because I did not.
Right.
approve them.
That,
So,
we
we
can-
can't approve them. There's not enough vote.
We did.
She had to borrow my BMO card.
Oh,
Coffee.
okay.
Could have given her mine. That's all right. She got mine.
So we'll skip the approval of the minutes for now and we'll go right to item number 4, new business. First, financial remarks.
Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna go through this fairly quickly just because we have some items to get through and our January meeting was canceled. So I want to make sure that we get through, especially items B, C. Doesn't even matter. So, again, inflation hasn't changed, encumbrances are there, linked through January 17th. Cash balance as of January 3rd was $3,929,127.86. The trust fund balances have been updated. Go over them quickly, but actually, because 2 of the items may pertain to the facilities revolving fund, definitely want to point that out. A couple of items that we may want to pull from that fund, but the special education expendable trust is at $370,709.14. Capital improvement reserve fund is at $464,254.46. The unanticipated educational expense capital reserve is at $278,851.62. And the unanticipated utility cost trust fund is at $188,984.42. And then, as I mentioned before, the facilities revolving fund, which at a minimum receives about $18,759 a month from rental from the SLC and SCA. That's up to $171,076. As I already mentioned, we're talking about the work on the water storage tank. We may want to pull from that, and there's another item that we'll ask you to consider later. Moving right along, budget adjustments. We have quite a few. Most of them pertain to special ed. Actually, they're special ed or some legal for legal services. I left the January 22nd and then added some in the last couple of weeks. So, do you guys have access to the January 22nd budget adjustment? Yeah. Okay. So, again, there's 2 separate spreadsheets of adjustments. The first few pertain to special ed. So for special ed, we'd like to increase the district other professional services line for contracted services by $37,747.57. And this will be taken from a Bakey special ed line for other professional services. We're looking to move also for special ed for middle school professional services, $124,347.62, and we're looking to move that from 3 lines, $45,347.62 from a memorial professional services line, 73,000 from a Bakey psych services line, and 6,000 from a memorial school psych services line. And then the last adjustment on this spreadsheet is for legal services. We like to move $18,091.92 from surplus health insurance line. Looking for your approval to make those adjustments. Okay, any questions?
Good.
We good? Yeah. So we need a motion. Yeah. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the budget adjustments, both the ones in relation to 122-25 meeting and the 25 meeting.
I actually haven't gotten those yet, 2.5.
Oh,
Those are on 7/10.
oh, we gotta do them separately.
Well, we don't have to. Should I just go through them all now?
Yeah, we'll do them all.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Usually we don't have two separate ones. We cancel meetings, so. Again, special ed, there was a total of the first 11 lines of the adjustment, total $118,265.73. That's coming from 9 special ed lines, and then we use for 3 special ed tuition lines. Okay, let me read through them all. I'm happy to for the public, or does it matter?
How many lines?
There's a total of 11. So essentially, we're taking
Yeah, high level.
high level. Okay. Rick, yes.
I was gonna disagree high level. I mean,
Okay.
unless you wanna read all 11. I mean, by
So the
time we're talking
118,000 we're going to take from a Bakey in-state tuition line, a Memorial out-of-state tuition line, a district, a middle, and a high street lines that were supply lines from district, middle, and high school, a middle school special equipment line, a high school special equipment line, a district summer contracted services line, and then a second district supply line. So that's where the $118,000 is coming from. And it's going on to 3 lines: a middle school in-state tuition line for special ed, and then a memorial school tuition line for non-public school, and as well as a high school tuition non-public line. And then the final adjustment that's connected to this spreadsheet is another legal services. We need to move an additional $15,746.34 to a legal services line, and I'd like to move that also from a surplus health insurance line. So from this spreadsheet, the total is $134,012 in adjustments.
Okay, so then I'll make a motion to approve the budget adjustments as described for in each spreadsheet, the 122 and the 25 adjustments.
Second.
Discussion. All open. Unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Moving right along to the energy audit RFQs. We received three RFQs from Siemens, EEI, and was it EMC, Dan?
EMC.
EMC. And Dan and I reviewed them separately, then together. We certainly have our thoughts and opinions. Hopefully you've all had a chance to take a look at them. And before, I guess, Dan and I share our thoughts and opinions on the RFQs. Didn't know if you guys had any questions, comments, initial thoughts that you wanted to bring up.
We had a very short
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, you can
To review all of this.
Yeah,
But I did try to do my due diligence and go through. I think I'm kind of leaning one way. I think there were, let me go back over here so I can. Personally, I was thinking Siemens and EEI were, both kind of my top runners. But I think I'm personally leaning more towards the Siemens RFQ. But I want to hear what everybody else has to say and get their input as well. That's kind of my.
And Rick's accusing himself
Yes,
from this, so,
which is why.
And I haven't, for the record, I haven't spoken with anybody on the committee about my opinion, but I'll be happy to do so once you make a decision.
I lean towards the Siemens as well. I've written down a couple of things. I mean, at a very high level, their proposals seem the most comprehensive, the most driven by, principles that align with what we're looking for, which is long-term efficiency and savings, and the general expertise that you can glean the expertise from the proposal, but also from what we know of the company generally. It seems like they're the best candidate for this work.
and we haven't spoken prior to, I haven't spoken to you guys, so like Don, if I'm being honest, I also initially Siemens and EEI rose to the top because they'd be guaranteed savings, so if they don't meet what they state they're gonna provide, they actually cut you a check for whatever, out of pocket you lose, but they're very different companies. One's a large multinational, more resources, and the other one's more local, small company. So it's, Dan and I have talked about the pros and cons of each.
And
And
we've both done some really big, great jobs, around at places that, I mean, that was kind of.
and they've actually both worked on some of the same districts, I notice. Okay. I have a former colleague in Hillsborough, and both companies work in the Hillsborough district. So unless I'm mixing up EMI with EMC, because they're so similar, but yeah, there's definitely overlap with these companies. So I don't know, Dan, if you wanted to chime in, have anything you wanted to?
No, I think what you and I discussed earlier regarding it, you can speak for me on that, but I think we're in line.
Yeah, I mean, I think from what I've gathered in reviewing the 3 RFQs, talking to Dan, what we know, what I've learned from other parties about the companies, I would lean towards Siemens if I had a vote. I like the fact they're a little bit bigger. It's probably, again, if they can't come through with the savings, it's guaranteed. I think it'd be pretty easy for them to make us whole and, cut that check. And I do like, Siemens has a local office. They work locally, but I do like local companies, but EEI is on the smaller side. I think it's 70 total employees, if I remember correctly. So again, I would lean towards Siemens. I think, Dan and I had some questions about proprietary equipment and with Siemens, and if you be bound by certain, you could speak up if I'm not describing properly, but it would be bound by certain proprietary equipment and things that might, cost more down the road.
Yeah, that may be something we can work with Siemens on if we do choose them as the vendor, as far as maybe steering a little bit away from some of the proprietary stuff that they do offer, just to keep the cost down as far as maintenance in the future goes. Because that's one of the big things I have now is some of the infrastructure we have in our buildings now is proprietary, and it costs a lot to maintain that stuff. So maybe that's something we can talk with them about in the designing portion of it, as far as moving away from some of that.
And this is related, but shifting gears a little bit. This energy is really important. Like what you can go into everything that's just, we have aging infrastructure. This high school looks great, but like, what did we just had like a $9,000 expense this week because the boiler.
Yes, our domestic hot water boiler here is on the fritz, so.
20 years old.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
statistically, in America, a school will go over a major rehaul every 20 years. And we're at 20 years now with this building and other buildings that are 35, 38
More.
years into a remodel, something substantial. So we're definitely behind the curve ball.
I feel like every month
For the
we're putting
nation.
tens of thousands of dollars into aging HVAC. And you can
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, we're putting a lot of
I
money
approve it
into
all, but I don't
equipment
have the
that's,
dollar amount on me, but-
yeah, and we're putting money into equipment that's not efficient.
Right.
And that's the kicker, is putting our money, reinvesting our money into equipment that's more efficient.
Oh, and now I understand. So it's not just the maintenance of it, it's also inefficient for cost to run.
Right,
So it's both.
exactly. So it's the
We're paying for both.
maintenance and inefficiency of what
That's
we
a good
have
point.
going
Electrical
on. So,
usage, yeah.
yeah, the pumps and things we have here are not variable speed like we would have at Bakey. We did put in variable speed pumps.
For like the pneumatic controls at Bakey.
Yes,
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Sounds like the timing's perfect.
It is.
Well, it is, and it's going to get even more perfect because these buildings are getting older. So, yes, this is a major concern, and we need to bring our buildings up to that standard anymore, as far as safety goes, and sprinkler systems and fire systems and energy systems, and we just need to head that direction. It still makes me laugh when people say, "Oh, you got a beautiful new building there," and it's like, it's 20 years old, people. How long's your hot water heater last in your home?
I'll continue to say it.
So,
It's because our custodians do a fantastic job taking care of this building. It looks amazing.
yeah, they do a fantastic
Yep.
job.
And that really is,
But the bottom line is that
Yep.
no matter how much they clean and maintain things,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be things breaking down, and that's we're at the point right now. So, so if back to Siemens, if maybe we can work out a deal where we're not using so much of their proprietary instrumentation or whatever that they're going to use within the buildings.
And choosing a supplier based on an RFQ, right,
Mhm.
is one thing.
Right,
We negotiate the contract.
right.
So, we choose them to be our supplier based upon the response, but that doesn't, we negotiate everything after that, so.
Right.
So I think we can sort of afford it.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think they would be a good choice at this point. So,
And it's needed. I don't know, like, my eyes are wide open now that I've been in the business office with you for almost a year, that, like, the amount of times his phone goes off, he's like, well, something's leaking, something's blown, there's no heat here, like, it's crazy. It's constant. And it's always
Yeah.
2,000 here, 8,000 there. And to your point, Dan, everything, the things that we have are just old and inefficient. It's wasting money on, utilities and other things. And our facilities aren't even as comfortable as it could be. Like, we could improve our air quality, heating and cooling, and so.
yeah, there's a lot of low hanging fruit we can go after for, a real good ROI on some of this stuff too. So,
And on, I kind of found, but I thought I read something somewhere. It looked like they could take our input, on page 19, Sanborn Regional School District feedback and input. Continuous input from Sanborn Regional School District stakeholders is essential to the collaborative development process. The review confirms FIMs for final development and recommendations, and the investment grade audit report. Stakeholder feedback and input include the following: present recommended FIM list, discuss equipment recommendations and other scope of work details, review detailed cost and saving estimates. I feel like that's where we get to say,
exactly.
so it's right here. So I feel pretty confident that
Right,
that's not
right.
going to be an issue.
And we can do a phased approach, but it's not like everything all at once
Right.
we can do it in stages, so
Yeah.
over time and not. You already said, Dan, hey, take care of the low hanging fruit immediately, and then if, the future's gonna bring, so there might be some projects we want to put on hold. Anyway, so,
Yeah, but what's nice about Siemens is that we can build our infrastructure in such a way that we can plan it out for 10 years, Let's get ready for it now. So 10 years from now, if we do want to put a new roof on with new pedestals for the air conditioning systems or something, we would have that plan in place, ready to move on it. It's one of those things I'd rather walk to a situation than run to a situation when things start failing. At least we have a plan in place and we can execute it early if we need to, instead of running to the situation. So,
So Matt, do you need a motion?
Yeah, because we have to enter into the RFP.
What's gonna be? Um, so I will make a motion to move forward with the Siemens RFQ.
Second,
Oh, yeah, was that
What?
right? Sorry.
yes, they are.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Second,
Discussion, it's just us, all in favor. So that's me, Dawn, yes, Rick is staying. And that's that.
Okay, good, good. We'll get moving on it.
Yes, I can just ask a question. What happens here? Do you think?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like in other words, what will happen from here
Oh,
as far as this?
process wise, yeah, there's
Process.
next steps in the,
I can share it with you. It's all laid out.
Oh, okay.
I just haven't looked at it in
Okay.
a couple
They'll come and
months.
do an audit.
they'll
Oh,
do-
okay.
they'll do
Yeah.
full
So-
audit.
coming to
Yeah,
do
they'll
the
do
Well,
full
the first there will be a negotiation, I would imagine, of the actual terms of
Scope.
the engagement, the scope. And we'll iron out all the things we make sure that we want out of it.
And then it's an audit, right, complete audit.
Okay.
And then I think it's what we talked about, aligning on low hanging fruit. Like you said, timing's perfect,
Right.
sort of not perfect.
Right,
too,
right.
Because we have, Fremont exiting funds and, so it's ROI, selecting the low hanging fruit with the quickest ROI and
Right.
things that really will make an impact in my mind, right? Siemens is a very reputable company. My organization does business for them. So I think if we do run into any problems, I pretty dialed in, where we can get some quick responses. They're very well known for what they do, and that's what I would vote for, right? Even if reading the RFQ. So.
And I think the taxpayer should be thrilled with something. I think they would actually spend money on something like that without hesitation. So.
Sorry, could you speak up? I didn't.
I think-
I didn't quite hear it.
With little hesitation.
Yeah,
there you go.
I agree, right? Because it's not like another building in Kingston
Right.
that you're gonna let get deplorable. And, this is a very good looking building, but it's old. And I think, to Dan's point.
And
there's
we
a
hope
lot
to
of
have this
things-
for 100 more years, believe
Yeah,
me.
there's a lot of things that we could upgrade and it
Right.
could be more efficient, so.
Yeah, there's the timeline's all laid out. I can share it with you.
All right, at some point, if you
Yeah,
can
I just-
ship it over. to me.
Because one I have is just a hard copy, then just remind me if I forget.
Okay, all right. That's all about that, right? So I'm gonna take it off.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't enjoy it.
Yeah, no,
What?
it's all right.
Come
No, thanks for
on,
coming.
come on, Rick, you know what I'm saying?
Board meeting, we got
Yeah,
cookies.
That's all right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks,
It's
Rick.
good to see
Have
you
a good
again.
one. Take care.
Take care. I'll see you.
Okay, ready to move on to the next item? Yes. Okay, so in December, after what was our last meeting, I received a memo from Dr. Dawson, our athletic director, about an issue with our pole vault pit, and it needs to be replaced. It's 20 years old now. Just for the public, I'll quickly read the memo, but I'm not gonna go into detail on some of the other information, but it's ready to request funds required for the immediate replacement of the pole vault pit. Landing mat is what we put in parentheses at Sanborn Regional High School. The current pit is at least 15 years old and is maybe older. About a month ago, we had a head of officials from the New Hampshire Track and Field Association, Nancy Eastman, as well as a 30-plus-year-old head coach of the UNH Track and Field Program, Jim Belanger, I think, inspect the pit, and they informed us that it had reached the end of its life. This means it is no longer safe for use and needs to be replaced. Dr. Dawson got 3 quotes just so we could compare them. He also included a letter from James and Nancy, just kind of explaining why it was unsafe, the risk to athletes who are falling into it from the pole vault, and how it could result in injury. Again, there are 3 quotes included in the Google folder. One from a company in North Carolina, one from Illinois, and one from Rhode Island. The company from Rhode Island, MF, apparently had installed the original, and because the equipment may be more compatible, Bob Dawson, Dr. Dawson was recommending if we went with it to go through MF. Before I get on to funding, do you guys have any questions about the kit?
I know it's bad. Carrie, Ally, Violet, who is the coach, has been in my ear for a couple of years now about her concerns. So I'm glad she finally, Bob finally has people come out and take a look at it. I think it's important to take care of it because that's a really high place for our kids to be trying to land on something that's dipping that much and isn't safe. It's not in anyone's preference.
So Bob met with me in September,
Mhm.
and I told him that I wanted him to have people come and inspect it and get 3 quotes for this group.
Yeah.
So that we could, I wanted it to be, I know the process that we like, and he did a good job of that. So I wanted to thank him for doing the research that I asked him to do. And he has spoken to me about it at length, about his concerns, Dawn, as well. On multiple times,
Right.
right, over a couple of year periods,
Yeah.
similar timeline.
Yeah. Well,
So-
anytime I'm at a track meet,
Yeah.
my niece is like.
Yeah, they're gonna grab your earbud.
Grab it.
I mean, he'd also like an electric gator, but I told him no on
Yeah,
that.
there's a
So
lot
this
of
is-
wants, but this
Yeah,
one's more
yeah,
of
this
a
one's more of a
need.
need. Now, what was the cost for the 3 quotes?
MF was, I think, the high quote at 20, with shipping and everything, 27,880. The UCS had actually 3 different options. I don't know the difference between 3. One was,
It was the size of the pad from what I read, and I think the highest was 27,650.
Okay.
yeah. And then Guild Porter out of Illinois was like 25,398.
So it's not a widespread. There isn't one that's 16 grand and another one that's 28, or it's close. I mean, relatively speaking.
We're at a point in the year where we're starting to estimate end of year budget balance, what the surplus will better be. Because, it's important to have, try to have a surplus to balance out the tax rate. I did think that we could take this from facility revolving use. At this point, we seem to be in a similar financial position that we were at this time last year. Again, I don't know what's going to happen with expenses over the next 5 months. If things progress the same way, we can certainly pay for this out of, the general fund, a surplus line. But if you want to take it from facility revolving use, we can do that because we can have the balance of 171,000. But we do have a water storage tank that really needs to be addressed by facility revolving use, and that's north of 30,000. That's coming up, I think, next in our sequence. So, I think the need is there to have this replaced.
Is there any warranties on any of the equipment? I don't see anything on either quote. That's my always question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, a lot of money and there's nothing here. So like you buy it and tomorrow it's useless.
You want me to, I could get the warranties.
I would, yeah,
Email.
No, so MF
yeah.
has a 15-year warranty.
Oh, where's it at? And
Under line item 1, the very last thing, 15-year warranty.
There it is. Yeah.
So they actually state they have a warranty. This one, the MF also includes, which the other 2 do not, what is it, the pole vault base pads and safety max box collar.
Yeah, good. I didn't see any of those.
And those, that weather cover is really, really, really important because I know that's part of the reason, Carrie told me that part of the reason that the other ones she thinks failed is because the cover was disintegrating, it was falling apart and it wasn't.
Is that kind of like a pole vault?
It's just a cover that goes
Like a
over the
pool cover
huge-
type thing for a pole
Kind
vault?
of, yeah.
keeps the water out, keeps
Yeah.
things out.
Yeah.
I just don't
So
know
the
what it
co-
is,
so
so, yeah.
The cover, and all of them have a cover, but,
Yeah.
It's a
that's
cover.
really important.
Well, I didn't know which part.
So for
Stop
the, basically the same amount of money, MF includes those couple other, items as well. And it does specify a 15-year warranty. Whereas the other two, I don't see any. It's this one, the first one's really hard to read. It's so small.
Yeah, just get it too.
Where's MF Athletic at though? You know?
That's the
Rhode
That's the
Island.
Rhode Island company.
It's, West Warwick.
It's a lot of shit.
It's, yeah, the shipping right now is, I'm not surprised. I mean,
Shipping's crazy.
we pay a few $100s just for a roll of carpet, depending on where it's coming from. So this is the size of this. It's going to take up. It's based on the.
Tractor trailer.
Well, that's it. It's based on the amount of room in the tractor trailer it's going to take up. So this does
Volume,
not.
weight.
This does not surprise me at all. So, I mean, if I got a roll of carpet that's only 12 feet long, and it's costing me $350.
I sold a pair of skis and I went to UPS. It was $174 to ship them.
Right.
That was more than the skis.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll figure out another way, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
bananas.
insane. Shipping right now is because then not only do they charge you that, but then on top of it, because you're doing freight, you've got the fuel surcharge on top of it. There's just so much. It's crazy, and it's absolutely astronomical right now. It's killing everybody.
So the question before us is, which provider are we going with and, how are we paying for it?
Yeah.
What's left in the facilities use revolving fund right now?
It's up to 171,000.
Okay.
And it's growing at about 18,580 a month.
Okay.
So aside from the liner for the freshwater tank, do we have any other large items? Like this time last year, wasn't there a big project on like a roof?
Roof repair,
Yeah.
memorial.
Yeah, that was big.
I mean, the freezer, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Thanks.
Some big
freezer.
And I mean, and this is what, 27? So like, our, with that 18K, we, nothing to have.
Month and a half, yeah.
One other option is to authorize the work and the purchase, and then at a future meeting, decide where to fund it from, based on what we know.
What's the timeline for them? For the work? But it doesn't have to happen until.
No, but we
They
want to
have to-
engage
they have to
companies.
order it now.
We don't want to miss the win, we
Yeah.
don't want to miss the window. We want to book it now.
Their payment terms are net 30 per this quote. So
Oh,
we sort of, so you have next meeting to make a decision.
Yes, okay, thanks, Rick. I didn't know how long you could. Yeah.
And then they're going to need this for when track starts in March.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I would, you could authorize the purchase, pay it, and then if you decide to pay for it out of a different, it would come out of the general fund at that point. But then you could choose to move that payment to the facilities use revolving fund. You don't have to, you can do that, but it's easier to just, I would just take it out of the facilities use revolving fund. We have all this rent coming in and it's helping our kids, and that rent helps our kids, which is what our goal was when we did it. So let's help the kids. I mean, that's, it's
Yeah.
easy.
I agree.
The least amount we touch the, end of your funds, the better I am. So
Me too. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to move forward with MF Athletic, at the quote proposed of 27,880 to be taken from the facility use fund.
Any discussion? All in favor? Yes.
Let's skip down to the water tank just because and then we'll go back to chemical hygiene plan. So we'll go down to who involves another similar project. So at the last meeting, we talked about the need. We had the inspection report from Pittsburgh tank. tank's 20 years old. If it fails, we're gonna have to shut school down for multiple weeks, because we're not gonna have, right?
Right.
You can't run a school without water. And it's also one of those things we have to get it on someone's schedule months in advance, and probably do it in the summer, because
Correct.
we're gonna have no water here for probably
A week.
a week. So, Dan got 3 quotes to have, there's like this, is it 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch rubber they literally go in the tank and they
Yeah, they sandblast it, etch it, clean it, and then they spray this
They
epoxy
spray
on the
this-
inside.
thick rubber
Yeah.
epoxy that
Right.
extends the life.
Right.
The 3 quotes that Dan got, there's significant difference. They go from 30,000 from Pittsburgh tank to almost 40,000 from Mass tank in Middleborough. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, all the vendors said this bladder lasts
Yeah, so
15 years, but
yeah, so
for
Pittsburgh
Mass-
has a 7-year warranty, Amtech 7-year, and Mass Tank is doing 30.
Correct.
Now,
30?
30.
30 for 9 extra, 30. for-
well, be aware of this, okay? I've done some research on Mass Tank, and it's all public information online. They had some issues in the past where they had some tank failures because of their coating. So I think what they're doing is they're making a bold move and making their warranty longer than everybody else to try and recover some of that lost business. And
Seems like a bit of a
so,
overshot.
yeah.
Doing 7.
And when I talked to these other 2 companies that are warranty for 7 years, they said that's basically the standard in the industry. And both of them even said those tanks are going to be around a lot longer than we are. So they're hanging their hat on, yeah, we'll warranty it for 7 years for workmanship and everything else, but they're going to last another 25 years. So, so that's where we're at with that. Now, Amtank came out and did an inspection quite a while back. They notified me of the issues a couple of years ago. New Hampshire DES came out. They did their inspection, said we have to do something. One of the individuals from Amtech has left that company and is now working for Pittsburgh Tank. They came out and did the inspection for DES. So they're familiar with the tank. Amtech is basically local to New Hampshire. Pittsburgh Tank is in Kentucky, Mass Tank's in Mass. So I've had, I've got nothing but good things to say about all 3 of them, quite honestly. I don't think anybody's better than anybody else, but Pittsburgh Tank has been working closely with us, and they seem like they're very anxious.
And
to
once
do the work.
they do the work, can they go back in like annually or biannually and drain it and inspect the liner?
Yeah, so there's what happens is by law, we're supposed to be inspecting them yearly anyways. So once it's done, we'll enter into a maintenance contract with one of them to come out and do an inspection on them, and they can just drop a camera in at that point and look at the tank and see if it's holding up.
Okay.
So that would be part of it is, entering into a contract with one of them, just to do a yearly inspection that New Hampshire or every 3 years, every 3 years, New Hampshire DES wants an inspection on them, so.
Say every year, that's an awful lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 3 years, I'm sorry.
You never know, I mean,
How
It's
important's your
drinking
water?
it's drinking water, so I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, it's every 3 years that we'll do an inspection for New Hampshire DES, so.
I tried to do a little bit of quick, because I was so focused on the other one, research. And when I Googled the Uniline 19, the S16 R4 and Duracam 5000, the Duracam 5000 and the Uniline 19 both looked like they were I have to pull this back up, polyphthalate. It's basically more of a flexible type of coating, whereas the other one looked like it was more of an epoxy type coating. the one that had
Well,
the
they
30 year. They're all very
both,
similar.
they're all very similar. They're 2-part
Yeah,
applications where they mix once they spray it,
yeah,
and then it adheres to the tank. And I had samples I brought in one time before, but it is very flexible. It's like a flexible rubber.
yeah.
It's, about that thick is what they
Right.
do down there. So,
The
But-
the Uniline says it should last up to 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was more concerned about the leaching of chemicals in drinking water and things like that. So that's what that was the
Yeah,
perspective I was
yeah,
coming
no,
from.
I get it.
So,
Where is this in the sequence? Is there a filter post?
No, this is your last
This
stage
is the
right
last
here.
stage,
Yeah.
right?
So
So-
water is filtered, clean, goes into this 15,000 gallon holding tank, and then it's pumped right to the fixtures within the building. Now, obviously,
And
I'll
this is
bet
a
my
very
life on it.
common practice to
Yes.
reline the tank. just
Yeah.
for the
I
public.
mean, I'd rather that stuff than metal.
Well, I mean, if
Put it
you
that
saw
way.
the pictures, and I think you did, of
Yeah.
the tank previous, where you
Pretty
had this much sludge in the bottom, and it was nothing but sediment and metal.
Yep.
You know, you kind of wonder,
Which is why I'm
get my
thinking-
iron intake for the day,
Mhm.
you know, so.
Yeah, that Arcor, right? It's Arcor, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
ARC.
It says it's 100% solids epoxy primer.
Yeah.
So the information I'm reading, that the Uniline 19 translate to a life expectancy of 20 plus years, more than twice the life of expectancy of an epoxy system. So.
Yeah. And
And
like I
that-
said, all three of them are very comparable.
Yeah, and I Googled it too, and it said that the polyethylene, the 7-year warranty ones, that one's technically considered safer when you're storing potable water. It's widely recognized as food grade. It's safe for drinking water, but I did also find somewhere else that, you know, it's like, oh, you can go down a rabbit hole. But I also know with epoxy, once you get a little bit in there, the whole thing
Starts peeling.
goes. So, you know, that concerns me as well.
Yeah,
So.
that's why they sandblast and etch that tank and prepare it
Yeah.
well before.
And it doesn't matter, as well as you prep it, you get any little
Oh,
bit that
yeah,
didn't get in you,
absolutely,
that
absolutely.
epoxy's coming.
Well, and that's where the warranty would come in
Right.
when they do their
Yeah.
inspections. If they see any bubbling or chipping,
Yeah.
then I'm sure they would warranty that work. So, I mean, that's kind of where we're at.
So you don't have a preference on the company?
Me personally, I'm leaning towards Pittsburgh Tank.
Based on what Don just shared, that sounds reasonable to me, yeah.
Yeah, they've been in business since 1919.
Wow.
Sounds pretty
Yeah.
reliable.
And actually, their specialty is those huge
Power
power
tanks,
tanks.
that's what I just
Yeah.
heard.
So yeah, they've been around a long time.
So your opinion is Pittsburgh, and they are, I think, 7-year warranty, which you're gonna go back and try to get 10 years for it, right? Thank
Well,
you.
I've already tried that.
Okay.
Yes, we tried that.
All right,
One step ahead of you.
figure I'd ask.
No,
Yeah.
I'm like trying to be a step ahead of you.
Yeah, and that's that actually is the low cost bidder, right? At this point,
Right,
at
right.
30,000 versus 34 and 39 from the other two.
Yeah, and I've been working with them. They've been very
Yeah, good.
awesome. All three of them have been great to work with. But, so
So I'll make a motion to approve Pittsburgh Tank and Tower Group to put in a liner for the tank for the funds to be taken from facilities use for Dawn's Fund.
Second. Discussion. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thanks for all the work you've done on this, because we know we've
No.
had a few meetings on it.
well, it's important to me. You know, it really is making sure we have clean water. So
All right, next item Dan brought to my attention. I mean, having been many years ago, science teacher and department chair, I used to have to, you know, manage these chemical hygiene plans. Dan and Jen were working on it. Actually, Dan, you and I talked about, do you want to
yeah, so
kind of give the overview of what's driving this? And-
yeah, so Department of Labor requires that we have some type of chemical hygiene plan in place. Department of Education also requires something similar to it. This plan was done originally during COVID. It was developed then and then was kind of put on the back burner for a couple of years, and no one really picked it up again after that. And then after having discussions with some of these departments within the state, they asked us, where's it at? And we were able to go back and say, well, we do have a plan in draft form, but has just never been signed. So at this point, all it needs is the superintendent's signature to make this plan happen. But it's something we want to present to you guys so you know what's going on as far as we do have a plan in place, and it gives you the outline of it. Financially, there is a little bit of investment on our part as far as making sure the chemical wastes are disposed of properly and stored properly. And the inspections for this stuff is done with in-house, I do some of it, the science teachers do some of it. So, it's not a huge cost other than maybe a couple thousand a year and just some disposal for some of the chemicals. Disposal of some of these chemicals is just incredibly high. Because you have to be a hazmat hauler and everything, so it takes a special type of truck and truck driver.
We
to
can't
come
take
in.
them to the Kingston.
No.
Yeah.
No, I
No.
wish. I can't dump them in the drain.
Is
your
there a
backyard, right?
is there a special day for that?
Yeah.
That's a nice day, there we
I thought I
go.
saw the Kingston does
Yeah.
recycling or something.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do heavy metals and stuff like that though.
Heavy metal.
But, so believe it or not, that's where the significant cost is just in the transportation of these chemicals once we gather them every year. And we do gather quite a bit because every light bulb that's in here is considered hazmat and those have to go away. And when we go to LED, we won't have to worry about that anymore. So we do, from a facility standpoint, do gather quite a bit. Most of the chemicals we do purchase and we use, so there is no waste. Where science, on the other hand, a lot of the chemicals that they purchase and use, there is an end product at the end because they can't dump it or use it. So that's kind of where we're at with this. Like I said, it's something that the government's saying we have to have this plan in place. So there it is right there.
Where you foreshadowed the energy audit and the bulbs. Good job
Well-
slipping that in there, Dan. That was
Well,
good.
I mean, it is a cost that we won't
You got
incur
that right.
anymore every year if we go LED.
Right.
Yeah.
So, no, I think that part of this is that this is, a lot of what's in the plan is what we do with best practice.
Yeah.
It's just memorializing it and making it clear for the purpose of Dan's documentation for the state. This isn't,
Mhm.
we're not starting doing these things because the plan is getting signed. We're doing the things and memorializing what we do.
Right.
We have to dispose of waste chemicals a certain way regardless of.
Yeah.
It's kind of like policy. If you have a policy, you follow it, but if a law trumps it, you do what the law says.
And this wasn't developed by us. They actually paid professional people to
Yeah.
develop this
Yeah.
plan, so.
So, the ask is what, for us to review this, not approve it tonight, right?
I don't think there's really an approval on your part. It's just letting you know for informational purposes that we're gonna start using this plan based on the superintendent's signature.
Yeah, I mean, it was developed by actually, I know Dr. Wazla, that's his specialty. But like he was a science teacher at one point, but then he became like one of the state's like leading safety
Consultant.
consultants, yeah. And,
Has our attorney reviewed this?
No, but
I
we
don't
can do that. It's a good idea.
If you're signing it, and
Yeah.
I think if you're entering, saying we're gonna do something, I'll just make sure that somebody gets a set of eyes on it. So-
Yep, I'll shoot it over to Jim. Ask him to have someone take a look at it. Just to make sure it's good. Yeah, good idea.
so yeah, it doesn't require a motion. It was just more of a,
Okay.
yeah.
Informational.
Informational. Any other comments on this?
I heard Rick volunteer the area behind his yurt for disposal.
You got a neighbor right across the street from your, you dump them in there.
Oh, yeah. Your last name's Dutton, right?
I think so.
That would be the last name.
Moving on to old business. Dan, you want to give us a memorial tree update?
Yeah, trees are gone.
Oh,
They're down. It looks good
Saturday, right?
in the middle of the
Oh, I want to go see
snowstorm.
that. I haven't been,
Okay.
yeah, oh, really, in the middle of the snowstorm.
With the crane and a guy.
Well, they were
in
at
the
his
tree
house
there.
at one point, right? And then they,
Yeah,
yeah,
same contractor, yeah.
yeah.
So
So,
no, they did a good job. I mean, they're down, they're gone. They salvaged a majority of that wood for building or whatever.
Well, that's what kept the cost down.
Yes, yeah, that's
Well, crane
exactly
alone was $6,000.
really, what was
And
the total cost in the end?
7.
Yep.
That's
Wow,
it.
that's not
So-
bad for those trees. They were
No,
big.
that's fantastic for the size of those trees.
I just wanted the public to know that.
crane,
Good job on
Right.
that.
So just to know, I had them at my house for a day, and the winter discount rate was $3,000 to take down just nine trees. So we paid really $1,000 for labor because they were able to keep the cost down by
That's great.
bringing them to the mill or get it built up or whatever they do.
Yeah, they'll mill it.
Yeah. So
But no, and quite honestly, it doesn't look bad at all with all those hardwoods behind it. It's gonna look really pretty in the spring. and
What was the
summer.
safety issue? Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. But
unfortunately, it
I
doesn't
think a lot of
matter.
people are
Yeah,
worried about,
yeah.
well, how will it look or, but it's fine.
It looks a lot better than a tree falling on.
Yeah.
or through a building,
Better than that.
that would ruin your Monday morning.
That
day.
wouldn't look
Yeah.
good. So it's just
So-
great. It was great.
Well, thank you, Dan, for all the hard
Yeah,
work on
no,
that.
that's done, so.
Yeah, to your point, there's a forest right behind it, so hard forest, it's not like it's a field. But
Oh,
I mean, we really, and at the December school board meeting, the capital improvement plan was approved. I think once, you know, depending on what happens in March with the vote, because we added money to the, for maintenance to the FY 26 budget, and depending upon what happens down the road with the energy audit, a lot of things on the capital improvement plan will be addressed by that as well. So I don't think we need to dive into the energy audit tonight or revisit it, but unless someone wants to, but I think in the near future, we're gonna be tackling those items. Because again, what did we upped the, I don't wanna put you on the spot, Dr. Ambrose, but we increased the maintenance budget by, what was it, 280? Yeah,
Ish.
200 something that, yeah, thousand, so.
Well, I just want to make sure we're clear. I don't think we increased the budget. We.
Reallocated the budget,
Yeah,
we added money to those
reallocated,
lines and reduced things in other
Because
areas.
there was never a budget. for
Right,
maintenance.
Yes.
exactly. Good.
Yes.
Thank you,
That-
Greg.
That was
Thank you.
exactly what
There was
happened.
never a budget to upkeep the buildings.
Right,
Right now,
Right,
we're doing budget adjustments for Dan's.
right. We
Dan's
consider this to be
expenses,
the starting point.
I'm an expensive person, aren't I?
but You are expensive. High maintenance.
That's right.
Gonna be good and stop right there. I think that the whole thing too is, we do a really good job. I know that there are some people that felt that moving the middle school to the high school was challenging for them. And I know that there's the change is hard, and that money really has made a huge difference. The rental from the middle school has made a big difference we just purchased this pole vault pit without adding to taxation. We just bought the liner for the water tank. We have fixed roofs. We have bought technology. Like the money is going to great use for the students.
And the building's been repaired.
And the building has been repaired by the people who have rented it. So we've saved, not only have we had income, but we've saved on the long-term expense of the building that's being maintained.
On short-term leases.
Yep.
In case you ever need to build.
Exactly. It's great. It's really is working. Couldn't be happier. So, and I know, Dan, you've worked hard on it, and everyone in this team, it's a lot, but it's important to reflect on it.
So yeah, I think that's all I have. I thought it might take a little longer, but I guess, I wanted to have adequate time for our queue. I didn't want us to be cut short.
Yeah,
or
no.
rushing, so.
It's okay to take a break before the next meeting. It's gonna be a long night.
Two
Say,
meetings
it'd be nice to have
We-
5-minute breather.
Yeah, yeah, we're good.
we should, we gotta circle back to the minutes. Rick, now that you're here, we have the minutes from the December 18th, 2024 meeting.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for December 18th, 2024.
Second. Discussion. Okay. 2 yeses, Dawn is
I'll abstain.
abstaining. Okay. Therefore, we're all good.
Could we get into the, I'm just kidding.
Oh, I thought he was serious. That was
No,
good. That was actually so dry. I was like, oh, here we go.
5:29 PM, we officially will adjourn this.
Dan just kind of looked at me, Rick.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long night.